Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, it has been about 2 years since I've had my Certiflat weld table from weldtables.com, and I thought I would basically give you a 2-year review, let you know what I think of the table, maybe go over some modifications that I made to the table upon getting the table, go over some of the things that I didn't do, some of the things that I do want to do, and actually talk about some table maintenance at the end of the video to keep your table looking nice and good and functioning well. So let's get started on today's video. All right, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is metalsupermarkets.com. They've got over 80 locations across North America, offering up a wide variety of metal types, shapes, sizes, and grades. From steel, aluminum, cold rolled, hot rolled, galvanized alloys, brass, bronze, copper, and a whole lot more. Check them out at metalsupermarkets.com for a location near you. All right, let's get back to today's video. Okay, so one of the first things I did when the table arrived, it came just the way you see it, 5 foot by 10 foot with a 3-inch square tube base or frame around the bottom. And right away I noticed that there's a lot of space in the very bottom of the table that I could utilize for storage. So I decided I want to go ahead and put a 14 gauge 1/4 inch perforated sheet metal bottom to it, allowing perforation for the holes in there to allow for any of the chips or dust or anything that would accumulate that would actually hopefully fall through and wouldn't create a mess. My previous welding table, I had a plywood bottom to it, and it did not work well. It collected debris, dust, and it was terrible. So this is what I'm hoping is going to be a better solution. Before I added to it, though, I installed 2 rows of 2-inch square tube, the full length of it to give it some added support. Cut out the perforated sheet metal and then tack welded it in place. It's working out pretty good. I'm happy with that. All right, the next thing I did, starting on the other side right here, is add the angle grinder rack. Now, this angle grinder rack, it works pretty good. It holds right now 6 angle grinders. Now, these are the ones I most commonly use. Thinking that you would do everything right, this was one of the first things that I added to the table, and it's working out fine. However, if I would do it again, I would recess the rack in a couple of more inches towards the inside of the table so that the angle grinders would not stick out past the end of the table. Right now they're about 1 inch or so, 1.5 inches outside. It hasn't created a problem yet, but if I was going to do it again, that's what I would do. As a matter of fact, you'll see when we get around to the other side of the table that I did correct that situation. The next thing I added was power. Everybody needs power when they're working here on a welding table, and like me, I work all the way around this table, front side, back side, in, and using all kinds of different power tools and grinders specifically. So it's nice to be able to have power right where you go. So I've added 4 outlets on either side of the table, and they're hooked up to a dedicated 20 amp circuit. It's worked out really good. I haven't had any issues with that, and it's really convenient to be able to have power. And here's what I'm talking about. The next thing is the armor clamp rack that I added. You can see that this works out really good to put your clamps on, keeps them convenient onto the table, close to the table where you're working. And you can see this is where I learned from the first time that I recessed this back underneath, and so these clamps are now beyond flush to the end of the table, but still easy accessible. The same thing with the fixture clamp rack on this side. I did the same thing. You can see that I've got plenty of room for the fixture clamps. They align in here nicely, and it is also recessed underneath the table, so none of these clamps stick out past the table, and it makes it pretty convenient. So here's the first thing that I need to add to this table is fixture clamps. You can see it looks like I have a lot of them, but it just seems like it's never enough. I'm finding I'm using every single one of the clamps to hold everything down in place. The more secure you have it, the more solid you have it, the better the fabrication is, the less distortion or warping you're going to have. So I need to order me up some more clamps, that's for sure. All right, so moving on down, the other thing that I added was my swivel swing out seat right here. You know, I had this on my other weld table, used it when I was TIG welding, and that's what I'm using it for here. I've got it secured to the center part of the table, and right behind me, it's convenient because right behind me are my welders, and I'm able to swing out, make adjustments that I need to, and have easy accessibility. Not to mention be super comfortable when I'm TIG welding. And then when it's all over with, I just swivel the seat back underneath the table. Once again, it's out of the way. And then right next to that is my filler rod holder. You can see I have the most commonly used filler rod. You know, we've got some mild steel, aluminum, and I've got some stainless steel, silicon, bronze, and that type of stuff. And you can see that they're stored nicely and conveniently and out of the way underneath the table as well. Just keeps everything at your fingertips. And right next to that, down here in the very bottom, these are my fab block squares or my fireball squares. They are easy accessible as well. You can see them lined up right here. Most of the stuff that I do is from this side of the table, and I can just pull these squares out and use them as I need it. And the very last thing here, and probably the biggest thing about this table, is the dust trays or debris trays, whatever you want to call them, that I added underneath each bay here at the table. You know, when I got the table, I noticed all these holes, and the first thing I thought of is, oh boy, when I'm grinding or welding, there's going to be spatter and dust and debris that's going to fall through these holes, and I can just see it going underneath and just getting on everything underneath. So I wanted to create some trays to catch that. And that's what I did. These trays right here are serving their purpose well. You can see that I've even done some woodworking on top here, and I got some sawdust and wood chips in the trays. And after 2 years, finally I'm going to get a chance to empty these things out. Everything is working really good here. Now, I had a lot of comments with a lot of people suggesting that, well, as you can see, the 3 trays are there, but there is a gap of about 3 inches between each tray right there that maybe doesn't catch anything that goes through some of the holes in the table. A lot of people suggested put some sheet metal angle iron, maybe a 5-inch or 6-inch angle bent piece of sheet metal up underneath there to deflect that dust that can go into either one of the trays. That's a great idea. I haven't done that, and I'm not sure I'm going to do that because to be honest with you, I have not had any problems at all. So any little bit of dust or debris that goes through there that doesn't find its way to the rack has not been a problem so far. But if it does become a problem, that's just something that I am going to do. All right, so one of the things that I didn't do and that I am going to do to this table is you can see that I've got some rust flashing going on. So when the table got here, it looked beautiful, natural steel finish to it. There was no coating to it. I could have painted it or put some clear coat on it. I should have done that, but I was so excited I did get the table into my shop and just get going on it that I hadn't done anything with it. And you can see after 2 years it's starting to get a little bit of rust flash to it. So one of the things I do plan on doing is, you know, taking all the storage off, taking all the clamps and everything off and getting underneath there, prepping it and possibly painting it or putting a clear coat over everything to maintain the natural look of the steel. So that's about the only thing that I plan on doing. Everything else works really good here on this table. I don't have any complaints, at least for me in the fabricating that I do. I've got it set up to where it works really nicely for me. One more last thing for some table maintenance. Now, this is the way I do it, and it's worked out for me. You may do it differently or may have a different opinion on how it's done, but after 2 years and daily use with this table, it still looks brand new and it's still flat. And so the way I do it works well for me. So what I usually do is after I'm done with a project, I just have this simple piece of 5/8 flat bar stock that I have sitting around, welded 2 pieces together, which creates a flat surface and a little bit of a handle. And then I just go across the whole top of the table and knock down any spatter that might be on there. And 99% of that comes right off with just one lick all across the table with this piece of flat bar. It is pretty heavy. It's got a nice flat, sharp surface to it, and it just knocks those BBs right off. Once everything is clean, I will take some acetone and wipe the surface of the table down with acetone. The reason why I do that is because a lot of the material that I use has got this oil or grease coating on the metal, and after you're sliding it around on the table and doing all your welding, it leaves this oily debris on the table, and it's nice to be able to wipe that off. I take the acetone, wipe everything nice and clean, and then a light coat of WD-40 over the top of it and wipe that in, and then it is just like brand new, and it stays that way, and you're ready for the next job. So what do I think about the table? I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't make any other changes. You know, if you guys are fabricators out there and you don't have a fabricating table, I suggest that you get one like this one or similar to, or something like this. It'll make fabricating really that much easy and make your jobs that much better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out my website at JIMBO'sGarage.com. I've got my latest torch lead holders there. I've got some t-shirts, and I've got some soon to come table dogs. We've got stickers and miscellaneous items over there. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and check us out on Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.